I'm sure each one of you have been impacted by the pandemic that has wreaked havoc throughout 2020. And as we are now gradually emerging from this pandemic, we definitely need to take stock of the current and future situation and prepare for the new norm for our respective businesses and organizations. Today, we have this online learning session which combines presentations from two very established speakers, as well as a panel discussion which will be moderated by Mr. KCC, the CEO of Quest Group. But before we start, let us have a look at Quest corporate video first. All right, next, let me share some housekeeping matters with all of you. Please key in your full name into Zoom. And if you have not done that already, for those of you who are not familiar, go to your picture, go to the three dots on the top right and click on rename. If you have any questions, please click on the Q&A icon and post your questions in the Q&A box. And finally, if you have any technical difficulties or any other comments, please feel free to comment in the chat box by clicking on the chat icon below your screen. Today, we have Sarah, Mimi, Daisy, and Hanisa in the support team all ready to assist you in case if you have any questions or technical difficulties. So make yourself comfortable, get ready with your notepad, and do stay tuned till the end of the webinar so that you can take away a free copy of the Trainer e-guidebook, which will help you to navigate the pandemic. And for us to understand better our audience, we will now run a poll to understand whether you are an individual learner, a company's HR representative, or a manager who is interested in online learning for yourself or your team. Okay, now let's get into the poll. Please click on the relevant question or answers. Let's get up to 70% of you to do the poll. More are coming in. All right, let's go through the results from the poll. It seems that 40% of you are individual learners, 21% are companies, HR representative, and 40% of you are managers who are interested for learnings for yourself or your team. So we have a balance of individual and managers. All right, thank you, Sarah, for that poll. Okay, now let's get into the first agenda for today, and let me introduce our first speaker for this morning, KCC. KCC is the founder and CEO of Quest Group of Companies. He is a chartered accountant, a chartered secretary, and a certified mergers and acquisition advisor. He also holds a marketing qualification from Australia. He had his initial training at Ernst & Young before embarking on a successful career in accounting, rising to become the finance controller of a conglomerate. He left to start the Quest Group in 1984, growing it to a regional training, coaching, and consulting group with operations in Malaysia, Singapore, Australia, China, Shanghai, and China, Hong Kong, and carried out work in 21 countries from as far east as Korea to as far west as Poland. A well-sought-after international trainer who has trained and mentored more than 1,400 certified professional trainers across Asia. And let us put our hands together to welcome KCC. Over to you, KC.
Hey, good morning. I hope you all can hear me loud and clear. Very good. Thank you very much. Welcome to this Quest Senior Management Forum, which we have been running on a bi-monthly basis for the last probably 9 years. Yeah, we've been doing this on a regular basis. Of course, it was a face-to-face kind of function. As now went down to, of course, an online version we've been doing for the last 1 year. And some of you are new, and some of you have been to this event before. Very good. If you're new, welcome. If you been before, welcome back again for another round of the Quest Senior Management Forum. Today, I'm going to discuss the issue of reskilling strategies in a pandemic environment. And very pleased to have with me Shirley, who will be speaking on the issue of online learning shortly. And then we're going to go into a forum with 3 esteemed guests, CEOs and CEOs of various companies. Philip from a company which all of you are very familiar with. I'll leave it to Michael to introduce later. Melissa, who is a learning training practitioner and in charge of learning in a very large organization. And Alan, who is CEO of a listed company in Malaysia. So we're very pleased to have all of them here and to discuss this topic. So I'll start by talking about the pandemic. I mean, I think we heard enough about that. Some of you are probably very tired of this topic, but then we need to start with having some idea and some realities of what's happening out there. And that is the fact that most of us in the last 1 year has gone through this experience that we have never experienced before in our entire life. Although personally, I've been through 2 recessions. We started Quest in 1984, that's 37 years ago. So 84 itself was a recession year. And of course, 1990s. 1990 was pretty bad for me because I had a staff force of almost 100 staff. And in 97, when we were hit by the recession, we have to shrink the company from, would you believe me, almost 100 staff down to 5. That's business experience to you, yeah. And to have to tell people that are good workers, productive, that you cannot have them anymore is a painful experience. So when we went into this in March, I guess we are somewhat a little more experienced, but it's still worse than anything that we have gone through before. And the IMF, and this is not simply any block or anything of sort. This is the International Monetary Fund, has stated very clearly this is the worst economic downturn since the Great Depression. And of course, we have now, none of us have been in the Great Depression. That's in the early 90s, 1900s rather. All right, but you heard stories of people lying on the street, people going up, worldwide situation. This pandemic is similar in many aspects, yeah. So how we have been impacted, and I'm sure some of you have seen business challenges faced by owners, leading down to job loss. And, you know, interesting enough, I just got a call this morning of somebody who told me had had a job for 3 months and asked me if I could help. So we are all going through this situation, whether directly or indirectly, but things has changed. We need to recognize that things has changed and we are moving into a new norm. And the thing I always say to people is, life will never be the same again. And once we go through this, especially in a 1 year period, certain things set in and can't go back to the old. So the impact on pandemic on the organizations are plentiful. We have, of course, enclosures, which we talk about. Very importantly is the change of buying habits, which of course created challenges to some organization who has to very quickly be agile and adapt to this. Supply chain issues has created a lot of challenges and problems for some organization. Rise in absence, well-being, people are more concerned about well-being. Travel restrictions have killed a number of travel industry especially, by, I guess, when the vaccine out and things are back to normal, people will go on what we call revenge spending, and travel will be one of them. But let's take something else like movies, for example, cinemas, for example. I'm a movie buff. I used to go to see a movie once every week, and I haven't been to a cinema for 1 year. Would I go back again? Probably not. So I'm so used to watching TV on my computer and my iPad, So the other part is switch to agile working and reduce customer support. So all this has a significant impact on organization, and many of you too would have felt that as well. Just to share a little bit of experience, when it was announced the lockdown in March, I have quite a lot of business owners who I was coaching and working with, and I got calls coming in and say, "Hey, Casey, what do you think we should do?" So I gathered some materials and came out with some ideas, and I launched in early April. That's almost 2-3 weeks after the lockdown, on something called the business continuity strategies. And I came up with 5. And I suggest the organization and businesses immediately re-strategize the company direction. Number 2 is to look at some of the critical priorities they have to immediately address in order to continue with their business viability and sustainability. And I also asked them to start looking at reallocation of resources. And the primary resources is human resources. For a lot of companies, your payroll is probably one of the biggest expense. Yeah. So went through a bit of detail on strategies on what do you do with your human resources. And then remote work implementation is very new to many organizations, due to mine too. I have a company, we have about 30 or 40 staff, and we never had a remote working situation, and we immediately have a change. So we actually did not stop at all. We should say we hit the ground running. So we went from office work straight to working from home. And I was very fortunate to have a very committed and competent workforce to carry us through this difficult time. And of course, the last time is cash flow management. So I had done this webinar, close to about 5,000 people came in to listen to this. April, May, right up to even September, yeah. And about 170 business owners kind of sign up for a coaching program with me, yeah. So from this, we help organization go through this initial period. And I like this diagram that came out from, they talk about the 3 phases, how we could reset based on the fact that we are facing challenge and how to deal with the impact. The first one, he says, respond to it, which is what my 5 business continuity strategies basically address. The second step is to recover. And I hope most of you who are in businesses or in companies would be already in that stage of getting back, if not 100% of the businesses, or back to normal, at least certain part of it. But the next one is interesting. We have to renew because things are not going to be the same again. So you can't possibly have the same strategies for your organization as you would have before the pandemic. So that's the part that perhaps some organizations has not ran into yet. And one of the areas that need to look into for the renewal process is the reskilling need. And the World Economic Forum in their meeting in January, February, before the COVID, already have set the idea that the world need reskilling, workforce need reskilling. And they even came out with saying that 50% of our employees need reskilling by 2025. It's not very far away though. And that's before the pandemic. What pandemic do is accelerate the requirement for reskilling. Even before that, there's a futurist, well-known futurist by the name of Thomas Frey, already said by 2 billion jobs will disappear. That's about 50% of all jobs in the planet as a result of technology advance. So even without the pandemic, there's already a calling for a need for us to do something about the workforce skills. So they have this big name called the Reskilling Revolution. And the big question is, how do we provide education skills job for 1 billion people by 2030? And they also came out with some statistics that they need something like 34 billion, of which employers will contribute 14%. The rest will probably come from government and people themselves, self-learning and so forth. This is only in the States, by the way. So the world is already stating very clearly there's a need for reskilling, upskilling. COVID-19 basically just accelerated the requirement. So the question is, what are we going to do? You, as a manager, as a person in charge of HR in your organization, and as an individual, if life is not going to be the same again, things are never going to be the same again, business is not going to be the same again, are we still doing the same thing? This is a report from, once again, the World Economic Forum in October 2020, a few months ago. I'd like to highlight some points, and that is, they say approximately 40% of workers will require skilling in the next 6 months or less. Now, that's the report after the pandemic. So, as I said, accelerated the requirement. So it was 50% by 2025. Now they say 40% in the next 6 months. And 94% of organizations say they expect employees to learn new skill in their job, which is a 29% increase from 2 years ago. So these are significant realization that Organizational Economic Forum has already stipulated and organization has picked up. So if that's the case, perhaps one idea is to think about this, that we need to change from hiring the right people with the right skill set to developing people with the right skill set. Because when you bring people into your organization, they come from the past, perhaps. But we are training people for the future. We are reskilling people for the future. So you can't rely on just finding, hiring people that fits the job requirement of today. The simple reason is that the job requirement is going to change as we go along. So if an organization does not have a reskilling strategies, does not have learning and development, big question mark, how are you going to compete out there? Closer to home, some reports that perhaps you could go and search and find out yourself. One is, how can Asia close its emerging skill gaps? That's a perception. Even closer, ASEAN Reskilling Challenge, and how we need to prepare for the future of work. Make it a point to read these two reports, very interesting and related to some of us. Now, this is in Singapore. Now, today, we have a lot of people from Malaysia, obviously, my home country, but we have a lot of people from Philippines. So welcome to all our Filipino friends. And if you are a Filipino, go to the chat room and say hi. And some of you from other countries. If you're from other countries other than from Philippines and Malaysia, go to the chat room and tell us maybe which country you're from. So this webinar has been kind of publicized and we have people coming from all over. Yeah. Okay, so we have people from Philippines. Anybody from other country? Yeah. Singaporeans, do we have? Yeah, I'm sure we'll pick up some. Now, this is a report which is done by UOB together with the Business Times. And they basically survey employees. Let me just get more data to you. And they have four things they asked. They asked employees whether they feel that they have to upskill and reskill in order to stay relevant. 9 out of 10 agree that they need to reskill and upskill to stay competitive. 9 out of 10. Wow, that's a lot. The second area is the idea that company will retrench staff to cut costs. By the way, this is a survey done last year, so in the middle of the pandemic. And as much as 80% say yes. All right. And the other part is company will digitalize more to reduce employees headcount. It's also around 80% on average, as high as 98% for the older generation and the 36 to 65, and 71% for the 18 to 23. And the last one, company will prioritize hiring people who can perform multiple functions, multitask. And as much as 76 to 93% agree that is the case. So the writing is on the wall for individuals to realize that this will be the trend and this is what's going to happen. I mean, there is the perception in Singapore, which is quite near here. Yeah. Now, in my home country, Malaysia, this report, 90% of Malaysians feel upskilling, reskilling need to secure a job in a post-COVID-19 era. This survey done by an organization called Randstad and publicized through Focus. And this is a graph that's pretty interesting that shows that 3 out of 5 respondents face challenge to adapt. So think about this. I mean, we talk about the need to reskilling, but the survey have also shown that 61% struggle to acquire new skills. The agility is not that. The workers today requires agility because the environment changes very fast. And the other report is they say 69% have difficulty in developing new skills compared with those that are 55 to 67. Interesting data for us to look into and relate to ourselves. This is a report from EY, my former firm that I work in, and this is a report in Malaysia, and it states that in the pandemic, deferment in upskilling and training is as high as 25%. More in some companies, yeah. So these are challenges: downtime operations, delay in completing tasks, disruption due to illness. But a large amount is deferment in skilling. Yet the need is there. Now, to sum it all up, I'm giving you a lot of stats. This is a report done by World Economic Forum leader, but it's on ASEAN, so it's very relevant. And the survey basically look at why ASEAN youth change job. What is the main reason why they change job in 6 ASEAN countries? Look at that, number 1. What do you think that is? Most people think that people change job for pay. You know, interesting I tell people is that if staff leave and you ask the staff, why are you leaving? I think 9 out of 10 will tell you I'll get better pay. Now, of course, who would leave a job to go to a lower pay, right? So it's not about the reason they tell you, really, but what caused them to want to leave there. And the survey tells you, number 1 is for better opportunity to learn and develop. This is not a data from the US or the Western world. This is ASEAN. Number 2 is only pay for higher salary and income. All right. So with this data, we got to ask ourselves, are we facing a crisis for those of us who are either involved with reskilling, learning and development, training in organization. We have a urgent need for us to do something about it. At the same time, there are issues out there. The pandemic forces us to be unable to run our traditional classroom training for many months now. And some organization has not done anything to continue with that. They just stop. And there are, of course, some organizations that still feel that that the option of online learning is not something they want to consider for whatever reasons we don't know. So I'm sure you've seen this before. Crisis, Chinese word. One word is danger, the other one is opportunity. Perhaps the pandemic has created a requirement for us to make quantum leap changes. Quantum leap changes could be seen as opportunities that we need to do. So I'm going to ask all of you, this is a picture of a glass of water. I want to ask you, how many of you see this as half empty and how many of you see this as half full? Write an E on the chat group if you say it's empty. Write an F if you think it is full. Let's go, let's go. Come on, I need some response. You're not going to sit there and just listen to me. Do something. Huh? E for half empty, F for half full. All right, go. Well, thank you. Some of you are so responsive. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you, Mary. I'm looking at the Zul. I think that's Zul. I try to read from here the names. Thank you very much for coming in to give us some response. That's more like it. We don't want to just sit in front of the computer and listen to me talk. Well, you can see that there are some people that will put half full, they put F, and some people will put half empty. So the question is, who is right and who is wrong? And of course, the answer is nobody. Everybody's right and nobody's wrong, really, because both are right. But every single one of you are looking at the same picture. Every single one. We see the same thing, but we come out with different conclusions. So you see half empty, some half full. So I want to suggest to you that opportunity is not seen with our eyes. It's not the eyes that see. It's the mind that interprets what we see. So you can choose to see this as half empty, or you can choose to see half full, even though all of us are looking at the same thing. So looking at the present crisis that we are facing, you have a choice to decide how you want to see it. You have a choice. So can you see possibilities and opportunity? Can see or cannot see? And everybody should say can see. Why? Because the speaker's name is KCC. Yeah? So I like this statement. Will the business get tougher in the future? And obviously, the trend appears to be so, and most of us agree. But question is this: is it getting tougher only for us or for everyone else? Well, I suppose you answer for everyone else, unless you're in the glove industry, you're in the healthcare. And interestingly, I was told that the furniture business is also in a good state. I was talking to the president of the Federation of Malaysian Manufacturers, and he told me that this tree industry is doing pretty well. So I was curious, why furniture? And he told me that, oh, because in the Western world, a lot of people are working from home, so they need new furniture. Wow, that's interesting. All right. So I checked with somebody from the furniture industry, and they told me, yeah, furniture industry is doing very well. Very good. So for most of us, business is going to get tougher. And therefore, not for us, for everyone, it's not what happened to you. What happens to you happens to everybody. So it's how we respond to what happened to us. So the question is, how are you responding to this present state? Determines success of your business and sustainability, or the company you work for, or it will reach a state where continuity becomes a question. So once again, it's not what happened that determines the nature of our future. If you're an individual here today, it's not what happened to you. What happened to you happens to a lot of other people. It's what you do with what happened that counts. So what are you going to do? You're going to do nothing? just wait, do the same old thing? Well, I suggest that you start making a difference. If you're an individual, if you're in charge of a team facing challenges today. So the crisis is not out there. I have a mentor called Robert Kiyosaki, and he says, the crisis is not out there. The crisis is in our head, and that is our inability to make changes. So I like this statement from a legendary CEO from General Electric, Jack Welch. He's passed away already. He says, if the rate of change on the outside is faster than the rate of change on the inside, the end is near. So how fast are we changing? Either as an individual or as an organization. All right. Moving on. So what do you need to change in your area of work in order to prepare for the future? Give me an idea. Go to the chat box and just put in something and tell me what are you going to change in your area of work? What might you want to change? Speed reading. Somebody say, oh, that's interesting. That's the first response. Thank you very much. Mindset. Somebody say. All right. What else, guys? Come on. Be a bit more participative, responsive. I know you're a great crowd, so thank you very much for your participation. But tell us. Go for blue ocean. Wow, this one strategy, collaboration. Yes, skill set change. Okay, good. Thank you. And we have mindset and skills, learning, better way to learn, mindset skills, reskilling and digitization. All right. Learn business intelligence. Okay, very good. Go digital. All right. Skill sets again. Yeah. Want to be a trainer like who? KCC. Oh my goodness. Thank you very much. Mr. Ng. I think it's Mr. Ng, isn't it? I think so. Can't read clearly from here. And then we have more skill, more online. All right, not skill, sorry. Explore more opportunities, no matter how difficult. I like that. That's a very positive statement. Thank you, Andy. Health conscious by Shamsi. And then skill change. All right, very good. Thank you. So thanks for your response. You're a very great crowd for you. Thank you. So if you are responsible for learning and development, are your training programs still from pre-COVID period? Not adjusted to new norm yet? Or are your training programs still using the same methodology as been done before? Are you still waiting for face-to-face training to resume? It will resume soon. Yeah. I mean, we're allowed to do that. Yeah. But have not yet migrated to online learning at all. Or you already have migrated to online learning of some sort, but you just repackage old style and with no new approaches, design or innovation. If this is the situation, how are we going to handle the demand and the requirement for reskilling in the near future? So this is a HR model from Dave Ulrich, and he suggests that these are the roles that we play as HR people, but he suggests also, or I suggest that you could look at yourself as a change agent. So organization transformation must start with individual transformation. An organization is just a company, can't change by itself. It's people inside that make the change that will create that organizational change. So learning and development itself function must be an agent of change. If our job is to go and help people to upskill, reskill, we need to look at ourselves, those of us who are in charge of this function, and those of us who are managers need to look at that as well. And if you're talking about digital transformation, which is the big word nowadays, then you got to start perhaps with learning and development first. Got to start digitizing. So a couple of other strategies to consider, aside from the one I mentioned. Number one is make training more engaging, more agile, more accessible, and more collaborative. Now, this is the actual photo of the online learning program that I was running. And most people cannot see how can you make online learning with activity, exercises, fun and engaging. Well, that's a mindset issue. I'm telling you, it can be. Look at my students. I mean, we can make them do a lot of things in the class. And by the way, this is interesting. This is a trainer's program. And people ask me, can you train trainers? I mean, we used to do this, of course, in classroom, but we switch on to an online version. This is one of the most expensive trainers program in Asia, and we have a full house. The other thing is to consider switch from activity focus to result focus. A lot of training in Asia, in Southeast Asia, is very activity focused. We focus on running programs, organizing seminars for our team and so forth, sending them for training and so forth. But seldom do we ask what results we're getting. And sometimes I'm naughty enough to say that 70% of people that go for training go back home, go back to the office, and do nothing. So where is the result? But when a HR function, not yours, I hope, when you report to your CEO, what do you report? Most report, we have done 25 seminars last year, 5,000 people have been to the program, everybody get 48 hours, we have done this and this and this and this. It's very activity focused. What's the result? So I want to suggest that as in the COVID, post-COVID situation, there's going to be demand for more accountability. Money is going to be spent, and there will be a demand for what is that return of that investment. So we got to switch from activity focus to result focus. We got to determine business needs for whatever programs we are running. We have to have more assessment of performance effectiveness after the training. We need to have measurable objectives for behavior and business changes, business impact rather. And then you need to put it across to the people that come for your learning and development that they have to achieve certain results, certain expectations must be communicated. And the measurement of results is very important. I've been talking about this for years. I happen to be coached and mentored by Dr. Jack Phillips, who is well known for his research and writing on ROI, return on investment in training. I brought him over to this part of the world a number of times. And I've been talking about measurement of training results for years, and still it's not really out there yet. Other strategies to consider, I want to point out that all learning is self-learning, meaning that you can't force people to learn. People only learn if they themselves want to learn. So if you're going to reskill people, you can't force it down the throat, right? Nobody can be forced to learn unless you have to pass exams, you know. So if all learning is self-learning, how do you get your workforce to want to learn, to upskill, to reskill? You have to create a learning culture. Big thing, huh? Learning culture is a set of organizational values, conventions, processes, practices that encourage individual and an organization as a whole to increase the knowledge competency. There are 7 strategies for doing that. I don't have time today to talk about that, but I'm very big on encouraging organizations to create a learning culture. So what are the areas to reskill? This is a research done by an organization called Talent LMS, and they did research on soft skills. You can see the number 1 is collaboration, communication, leadership, proactive thinking. Then agility, adaptability, which I think is a very important area. Resilience, another very important area. But this is very American. Let's look at World Economic Forum. And these are 2022 skills on the left-hand side. And the right-hand side, the declining skills. And I suggest all of you get a copy of it. We can pass it to you. So look at the first few: analytical thinking, innovation, active learning, and learning strategies, which is a very interesting point because it means people need to know how to learn. Don't assume that people know how to learn. They have to learn how to learn. Creativity, originality, initiative, technology change. Yeah, and then design, sorry. And then we have complex problem solving, critical thinking, leadership, emotional intelligence. Very popular a while. reasoning, problem solving, system analysis. So, and this is the 2025. So they just shift the priorities a little bit, pretty much the same. Now, when I got all this data, my question is, what would be this skill that we need to look into for reskilling purposes in Asia? And I look at the American outcome, the information, and also the World Economic Forum, and I felt maybe I should find out about the local scenario. And I was able to do this research only in Malaysia and Singapore. Sorry, I didn't cover Philippines. So we did the research, and we got 34 companies to join us in the research to give us feedback. I kind of double checked it with a number of 50 over human resource practitioners in various countries. The data primarily is still very much Malaysia and Singapore. And objective research determined what are the new norm skills critically needed for employees and leaders to cope with the VUCA, volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous environment, which we are already in even before pandemic, more so post-pandemic. What do we need? So I came out with a list of competencies using the World Economic Forum data, and this is the result. The yellow one is the one with the highest score. And you're interested to know, you might be interested to know that learnability is number one, followed by resilience, followed by agility, emotional intelligence, and somewhat high order thinking skills. So when I match this against the World Economic Forum, we have a match of approximately 6 out of 10. 6 out of 10, not so bad. So I came to the conclusion this is the skill required by the more ASEAN environment, or rather, I say just Malaysia, Singapore. There would be priorities for organization to reskill their employees on. So I want to ask, so I'm going to do a survey now. I'm going to ask you to choose two top competencies, and Mimi, make sure they can choose two, if not two, at least one. And give me a feedback. So can we poll now? All right, I'm getting some results, and I will need my colleague to give me some feedback. All right, is it in the same sequence as this list? Yeah, it is, right? Okay, so it looks like pretty equal, except for number 1, 2, 3. So high order thinking skill is number 1 right now is learnability still. Wow, okay. And then coming up is agility. And then we also have change management. All right. Now, although I came up with 5, I add 3 more: leadership, change management, influencing. That from the practitioners' input. Right. Okay, so learnability comes out far ahead of the rest. And how many percent have responded so far? I need more response. Huh? How many percent? 65%. Hey, come on, guys. The rest of you, what is the 1/3 of you doing? Come on. Don't just sit down there and listen to me. Just give me your feedback. It will be a useful research for not just me, for all of you to take note of what our fellow colleagues and friends here came out as being important for reskilling your workforce. How many percent do we have now? 69? All right. We need to hit at least 75. Come on. I allow 1/4 of you to do nothing. But the rest of you are engaging, participative, and good. Thank you. Come on. What's the percentage now? I can't see from here. 70? All right. 5 more. Come on. Give me your feedback. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So we get some good data here as more and more of you come in and share with us. What do you think are the top 2 skills that is required either in your organization or for your own self? Yeah. Right. How? Percentage? Huh? 74. Okay, I will close at that. So at least we have 3/4 of you respond. Thank you very much. Great crowd. All right. So, my PowerPoint, yeah, it's not moving. Just a minute. Okay, so because of the research, my team and we did our development and came up with two series of program. One is the 5 critical skill, which is the 5 that we pick up from the survey. And then we add 3 more from the feedback from the HR practitioners in relation for leaders. So the leaders go to the same 5 plus 3. And here are the topics that we have come up with. All right. As a conclusion to my presentation, I would like you to give me a bit of feedback on what do you think we should do in reskilling. The topic today is reskilling strategies, and I mentioned a number of things. So let's kind of consolidate that and get a poll done and see what you think. You can choose more than one, but not more than 3. Number 1, review the content of your training to align with the new norm critical needs for reskilling and upskilling. Number 2, so you decide which 2 or maximum 3 that you want. Incorporate more online learning, online technologies into our training. Focus training more on business result and align with company strategy. Incorporate more measurability of results into my training plans. Get some of our managers to contribute more as internal trainers, mentors for learning and development. That's called making it more accessible and more collaborative. Move the learning and development function towards becoming more of an agent of change and building a learning culture. Move the emphasis from hiring the right people with right skill set to development people right skill set. So here you are to summarize some of the things I went through, and I'd like you to feedback to me. What do you think is important to you? You can choose 1 or 2 or 3, but not more than 3. Let's go. Wow, I'm getting response already. I hope we can hit the 75% mark. All right, good. Come on. How many percent do we have now? 60. All right, I need more than that. I need another 15% to make this survey more viable. Right now, the top 1 is reviewing the content of a training. And number 2 seems to be focused training on business results and align with companies' new strategies. And the bottom 2, which is moving learning and development to becoming more agent of change and building learning culture, and move the emphasis from hiring right people with right skills to developing people. So it seems to be highest. All right, but number 1 is still at this moment, review your content of your training. How many percent respond do we have, son? 71. That's good. Thank you. That's very fast. Let's hit 75 at least. By the way, thank you very much for all of you for coming in to contribute. This statistics will be useful for us because while we talk to a lot of people, today we have 200 over people enrolled for this webinar, all the highest we have. And of course, not everybody turned up, but thank you very much for your response and for being part of this. Afterwards, when we do the forum, we will discuss all these things. It should be interesting, and we will encourage you to ask questions relating to all this. After we have passed on to Shirley to talk a little bit about online now. So what is the percentage now? 73. Okay, we'll close at that. Thank you very much. Number 1 is the first one. Review the content of training to align with the new non-critical needs for reskilling and upskilling. Thank you. All right, so I've come to the end of my part, and I'm going to pass back to Michael, who's going to introduce Shirley for the next part. Hi, Michael, you doing okay?
Yes.
All right, over to you.
Thanks, Casey, for the very insightful presentation. It's actually very astounding to learn that up to 90% of employees felt that they need to secure their jobs. And of course, that highlights the importance of reskilling. So next up, we have our next speaker, Shirley Leong. So Shirley has been in the training and learning industry for over 15 years. She has worked in Malaysia, China, Singapore, and Hong Kong, helping all kinds of organizations in their learning development OD interventions, learning innovation, talent development, business strategy, and other projects. She is well-versed in the use of different diagnostic tools and approaches, which ensures that she brings the targeted solutions to clients and maximize deliverable results. Shirley was a professional business manager who has been involved in business operation, business development, and sales and marketing, which are her key expertise areas. She has helped to turn around 2 negative bad debt companies into positive, profitable companies. She has been invited to share her management and training knowledge in forums and conferences. Some of the clientele that she had served include Solvay Chemical, Carrefour Global Sourcing, Chow Sang Sang, Cone Cranes, Schneider Electric, Saint Gobain Research, Alchan, Bank Islam, etc. She is adept in different business environments. Other than training and consulting services, Shirley also helped individuals improve their performance capacities through coaching practices. So let us all put our virtual hands together to welcome Shirley to the stage. Shirley, over to you.
Thank you, Michael. And everybody put your virtual hands for me. Thank you. A very kind introduction, Michael. Just let me go on my slides. All right, I believe you can see my slides, right, Michael?
Yes,
right.
you can.
Okay, Michael. Good morning, everyone. I'm Shirley. It's great to have you this morning. As Casey said, in this section, we have over 200 people enroll and register to this section. And I'm happy to share with you about the online learning and how can we digitize our training program for your companies and for yourself. Because I believe some of you are trainers here, some of you are individual learners, and some of you are managers for your company. Yeah. So let's see what's happening since the lockdown. Yeah. It's very apparent that I think in Asia, I would say close to 100% of your trainings in your company or you as a trainers, I think it's almost 100% all the training was suspended. It just come out of nowhere that we could not do anything. And then it come out that all the webinars just happening. It was a webinars avalanche. It's especially not only the webinars for corporate, there's so many individual webinars on all kinds of topics. And then gradually the company is going to adapt and more comfortable about the online learning and the online training, virtual training. And in Malaysia, we have the HRDM fund is claimable policy release. That means that the government is supporting for the online learning. I think it was around May. And then again, the lockdown release, the lifted up, everybody is going back to the sort of normal. Then people started doing the training, classroom training again. However, lockdown happened again. I believe some of you in other countries, you're also facing that. Lockdown, then you can go out, so the lifted, then it's lockdown again. So things are so uncertain for this time of period. Then there's a time that I think more companies as a HR people, they become more aware, okay, I cannot wait anymore. I just got to do something to reskilling, to train my people. They become more actively participate in the training. And of course, for these few months, we can very apparent seeing that more companies and the corporate, they are ready to adopt and to convert their training into the online learning. So this is what's happening in Malaysia, but I believe it wouldn't too far away in other Asian countries where you are now. Yeah. So it's not only that you need to respond as a trainer or as a corporate people manager or HR. And we as a training provider, we as a trainer, we also need to respond very, very fast. So in the last 12 months, in our self-quest group, we immediately turned things around. We immediately converted a lot of things. So for the last 12 months, we have launched over 30 new online programs and conducted over 116 online webinars and seminars. Actually, I am quite doubtful about this number. I believe we have done more than that because we are so often in online and doing all these Zoom meeting or Zoom webinars. And then the next one, we have reached over 29,800 audience all around the world. Yeah, we have the seminar webinar that attended not only in Asia. We have people from the Middle East, we have people from the US. And another fact that is quite interesting that I would like to share with you is, In the last 6 months, we have requests from our clients to do strategic planning and strategic alignments. A number of the requests is more than the total number of requests in 2019. So you can know that from this statistic, you know that there are so many companies that are so concerned. What is their next move of their strategic direction? What is the next move of their companies? Yeah, same as you as a corporate, the HR, or as a managers who take care of the employee and your team training. We need to be more alert and aware. How can we do something about it, about our training strategy? Because this need to be aligned well with your company direction. Yeah. I think Casey has shown quite a bit of a statistic that what is happening right now. Yeah, from the World Economic Forum, it's already stated again and again, the COVID-19 had changed the whole scenario of the education and the training scenario. And in the 3 years ago, this news actually came out that Malaysia is being nominated as one of the developing countries in Asia. Is very, very good for e-learning localization. Even though this is news of 3 years ago, but I believe it's still applicable for now. Yeah, because we have in Malaysia, we have so many internet users, we have so many infrastructure ready to push things forward. It's just that in this last 12 months, things is being pushed and accelerated very, very fast. So you may think that, how could it be the same if I do online learning and the classroom training? Would it be having the same effectiveness? Would my employee receiving the same results by attending the training? I am very, very, very confident to tell you from our past 12 months experience, results is granted. Even though that we are moving so many things and so many trainings online. For example, this webinar that you are attending now, Quest Senior Manager Forum. In the past, we always do it in the hotel or in the classroom. And the most people that we could get, it was about only 40 people and sometimes even less, like 30, 20 people. But because of we are leveraging the online platform and the online outreach, we have over 200 people registered to the webinar. And we have able to reach you in other countries from Indonesia, from Philippines, from Middle East, Pakistan. And we are able to reach you and share our ideas to more people in other countries. So this is something that is impossible for us to achieve if we're doing the classroom training. And another very good example is one of our program. It's called Certified Professional Program. We used to do in the classroom, and we sell the program over 5,000 USD for the program. Even though now we are moving to online, we're still able to recruit students. And we can recruit students from Singapore, from Hong Kong, and from other countries. And we have been conducting it for a few intakes already. So you can imagine that learning shouldn't be stopped. And people are still looking for something to reskill themselves, something to improve, even though in these constrained environments. So as an online learning advocate, I am strongly can guarantee you results still can be achieved. It's just that we need to know why you are doing this. What's your company strategy about the training strategies? Then next is how you need to learn how to do it. And of course, to do the right thing, what needs to be done. As long as we know these three elements, I am guaranteed the results can be achieved. Yeah. So you may have this question, is there a need still have an online learning beyond the COVID-19? So can you share with me, put in the chat box, put yes, is there a need? Or you put no, I don't think so. I still prefer classroom training. I just think that classroom training is the best. So can you put in the chat box and let me know, yes or no? Let me see your responses. Yes, no? Yes, yes. Yes from Selvi. Yes from Ellen. Yes from Jason. Emily. Yes from Nafasa. Yes. Anybody who say no? Joan, yes. Anna also say yes. Yeah. So I'm pretty confident that I very likely receive at least 90% of yes. So far, I haven't seen anything that no. And Andy Wong said, definitely. Very assurance. Okay, so it's very, very positive, and you yourself already know that there is definitely a need, even after the COVID-19, even everything is back to normal, in which we don't know when. Yeah. So in the corporate, in the online learning, there are different levels of participation. So first level is only participation. That means you send your staff to attend the online learning, the webinars, or you yourself doing that. Is only being a participant. Yeah. Next level is to carry out the remote training. It's not only the remote training for your employees, it's also for your customer, it's also for your suppliers. Why? Because the way that we do business is completely different. We cannot meet our customer face to face. The logistic processes has been changed, business processes has been changed. And all these changes, we need to educate our suppliers, our customer, our partners. So some companies, they are already doing this. They are carrying out remote training for the employees internally and at the same time for the external parties. Yeah. Then another level is to create online content. Yeah, I think I have said it very, very frequent. Yeah, for certain topic, for certain contents, for example, onboarding, for example, compliance training, product training, all these training are very standard. And most of the time, we don't really change the contents for over a year or two, even we have used it for so many years. For all this content, we should convert it into an online content so that it can easily to be accessed by our partners, by our stakeholders. Yeah. So these are another levels of the online learning. And of course, the best is to have integrated solutions. What does it mean? Yeah, for certain topics, take for example, our certified professional trainer programs as an example. So for this program, we do it mostly for remote training. We do it live virtual training, but at the same time, we convert certain contents into online. Yeah, we have the certain content to be accessed by the participant after the training, or some extensive learning, or some continuous learning for the participant. So this so-called integrated solution. Yeah. So I'm very curious, where are you now as a company? Are you at A or B or C or D? Or as a trainer, are you doing A, B, or C or D? So can you put in the chat box and let me know, where are you now? Which level of the online learning that are you doing now, or your company is doing now? So have a quick thought about this and share with me, where are you now? Yusuf is on C, fantastic. Yeah, a lot of people are on B. Misa say on B. Novisa says C, fantastic. C. B and C are a lot. Wow, seems like it's not only participation. You guys are moving ahead. Fantastic. Yeah, anybody is on D? Anybody is on D? Share with me. Dinah says on B. Alex is on B. Margarita is on C. Now, it's very encouraging to receive these responses from you, because it's really like a testimonial from you guys. Online learning is such an important platform, or the methods that we need to do, at least to carry out virtual learning. At least we need to create some kind of contents for online programs. Very good, very good. A lot of people B and C. D next. Yeah, fantastic, Yusuf. Okay, yeah. So why do we want to move our online training to online? First of all, it's very flexible. Yeah, just like you in Philippines, in Pakistan, I believe the time zone is a little bit different, but wherever you are, wherever the time is, as long as we have the internet access and you have interest of the topic, we can access the learning whenever you are. And moreover, sometimes we have the recording of the seminar, right? You can access it even later. Yeah, and time saving. Yeah, we don't need to travel the time. And in the past, I always need to spend 1 hour to 2 hours to travel to the training venue, to do the training. After that, very tired, then drive back to home. So all this time has been saved. Yeah. And next, it's very convenient. Just a laptop and in the internet connection, in which most of us have the access of it. And the customized solutions. This is very important. In the classroom training, we always assume that everybody learned the same thing. And everybody was forced to learn the same thing, because it's impossible to have so many classes with few little people, right? But with online learning, we can customize the contents. AP contents is for this department. BC content is for another department. So it's so easy and flexible that to customize the contents to particular audience. And then of course, saving costs. And I'm not surprised that if you tell me your event management costs or all your participant traveling costs might be more expensive than the professional fee that you're paying to the trainer. It is so common to all my clients because we do quite a bit of a regional training. The participants are come from China, come from Malaysia, and sometimes even come from US. All these traveling costs is like a bomb. It's the cost of a bomb. Then why don't we, leverage on this costing into really develop the contents and really getting a professional to do the job, right? Yeah. And here's some of the example as a reference. How can we convert certain contents into online? One example is this China clients. Yeah, we did classroom training for them, and we train hundreds of their employees on the subject matter. However, it's very common in classroom training, as you know, that after the training, we just back to office. It's just back to normal. And little change can be observed and little change can be done. So it's very important that we need to think, how can we extend their learning experience even further? This is how we can integrate the online learning to help them to refresh their course, to help them to test their knowledge and extend their learning experience for another few more months. Yeah. This is another clients that in China, we have done the projects all across China, Taiwan, and Hong Kong. Yeah, because they want to instill learning culture within the company. If we only do it in their HQ in Shanghai, we were only able to reach about hundreds of people, less than 500 people. But because we bring some of the contents online and also face-to-face, and we do the online quiz, the online engagement, we were able to reach most of their staff over 1,500 people. So in compare with the number of people that we can reach and the result that we receive, it definitely more than 3 times we have achieved that. Yeah. And it's not only that. Recently, I got a project from client. Now I'm in Malaysia, but I was in China for the past 10 years. Even though I'm here with the help of my local clients, with my local partners, we got the project to train a China client in 24 locations because China is so big. We need to train their employees on certain topics at the different 24 locations with 80 people participants. So there's no constraint that what we can do. Even though I'm now is here, but we can do more and do servicing and reach your employees in other countries. This is the benefits, is the flexibility that when we do come to the online learning. Yeah. And of course, Quest, this is Casey has shown you already. We immediately turn over 30 programs into online, and this leverage with the tools is become very engaging and very participative. Yeah. So here I'm going to share with you the few steps of the digitize your content. Okay. The first step, you need to determine your learning goals. Of course, this shouldn't be too difficult because you are already doing the TNA, training needs analysis. We just need to be more focused. What are the things that can be turned into online? And if you have already programmed in your company, we just need to learn how to compartmentalize the content. Some are on the virtual learning, some are on the online learning, and engage on a certain online collaborative tool. This could be achieved. And then next is to delivery methods. Yeah, just now we already said the best way is at the integrated solution. So we must think, what is the best way to deliver the programs to the audience that you intended? Yeah. So is it going to be online or going to be the content only, or need to be in a coaching format? Yeah. And of course, it's very important that all kind of training, we must measure result. This is the way that we can get good feedback and understanding for what the needs and from our audience. Okay. And here are the few things that few future trends of our employee training that are relevant to the online learning. First of all, I believe you may have heard of this person, Josh Bersin. Josh Bersin is a HR guru. He has this concept of learning in the flow of work. It's very important that in the future, most of the employees, they will choose what they want to learn. Yeah, they will decide in certain time frame what are the knowledge to help to close their gap. What are the immediate a skill they need to learn so that they can have impact and complete their job. So this is called the learning of the flow of work. I would say most of the countries, companies in Asia, we are still at continuous learning and the digital learning. We are trying hard to moving to this learning in the flow of work. So I believe we would achieve that. Yeah. Another statistic that I would like to share with you is reskilling. I think Casey has said enough in this reskilling part. What I want to emphasize is about the gig economy. What is gig economy? That means most of the companies now that engage workforce is not for permanent position. They will engage the workforce for a certain time of periods, can be from few months, even for 1 year or 2 years, to do a specific job function or to do a specific project. This is called gig economy. You can be surprised that in US workforce, over 40% already on the gig economy. And in Malaysia alone, we have over 4 million people already doing the gig economy, mostly are freelancer. But these people, they are still working in a way, still working for you. They still need to adapt the company culture. They still need to follow whatever your company is required. So if you are doing that, we still want to ensure this gig workforce is still competent enough, is still adaptable enough to your working environments. So how can we train all these people? They are all around the world. They are at different locations and they don't really come into the office. This is where online learning come in. Yeah. So I think in Malaysia, it's getting more and more popular. People are getting to this gig economy. And this is a statistic. This is the research done by LinkedIn. You can see that people tend to and want to spend more, 59% on online learning. And for the classroom training, instructor-led training is getting less and less. They will spend less. It is a very obvious change about the intention of the corporate people or the HR people. Yeah. And the future employment training in the past, it was a top-down. The managers or the HR, they will determine what is my team need to learn, what is their competency gap. This being said by the company or being said by the managers. But it's going to shift to the bottom up. Individual employees or individuals, they're going to be the content, even can be the content creator. They'll be the one that who share the knowledge and they were the one that to determine what I need to learn so that I have impact to my work. Yeah. So this will be a bottom up rather than top down. And actionable coaching, this is nothing new. I believe some of your company already doing the coaching in the company. However, because of the change of the whole learning habits, we are moving more comfortable with the video conferencing. We are more comfortable doing this virtual coaching and the virtual mentoring. This will have a change and the impact of this actionable coaching, because we don't only want to reach the coach in our office. If we have the platform, we can even reach our coach and mentor in other region, in being exposed to other skills, in being exposed to the culture in other working environments. Yeah, this will bring the impact on the coaching and mentoring environment as well. So what should you do next? So first, to align your workforce and training strategies. I think Casey said enough of this already. It's very important that our training and the employees' workforce direction must be aligned whatever the company is going to. Then secondly, to map up the digitizing learning roadmap for over a period of time, short-term or long-term. We must set the short-term goal. In 1 year, where do we want to go? Yeah, in 3 years, what's our big goal? It's very important we have a milestone being mapped out so that we know that we are progressing gradually. Then next is to assess and leverage the resources and potential investment. You may have certain resources already that you don't even know because it's just being there. We never pay attention what we have. So it's the time that you go around your company and gather all these resources and turn them into a digital form. And of course, you may need to fork out and invest certain investment in order to achieve that. And next, just do it. Don't think about it too much. Yeah, a lot of people that say, oh, I don't know this, I don't know that, or I don't have this, I don't have that. Because we don't know and we don't have, that's why we need to start somewhere small. Just as Quest Group, we also not ready to roll out so many programs in the last few months, but we just got to do it. Yeah, then we will have our people ready to achieve it. Right. Here is my section, and you are welcome to put in your question for me in the Q&A box. Then now back to Michael.
Hey, thanks, Shirley, for the very useful and relevant sharing, especially during this time when so many of us are actually working from home. And I can definitely vouch that Quest Group has indeed done a lot of webinars, because I have also personally joined so many of your webinars. All right, now let us go to our third and final agenda, which is a panel discussion. Today, we have invited 3 esteemed guest panelists for the discussion on the topic, Reskilling Strategies in a Pandemic Environment. Now, let me introduce to you our guest panelists. Firstly, we have Mr. Philip Leong, who is the Managing Director of BJC Foods Malaysia, Sdn Bhd. And then the second panelist is Puan Noliza Ahmad, Head of Agenta Academy, UEM Agenta Berhad. And finally, we have Mr. Alan Lau, the Chief Operating Officer of Protasco Berhad. So let us put our virtual hands together again to welcome our guest panelists. And for this session, we will have KCC, who will lead as the moderator for the discussion. Over to you, KC.
Very good. Thank you very much. Now, before I go further, I mean, Michael has done such a great job introducing everybody, but Michael himself is very experienced in this whole topic that we are discussing on. So now I introduce Michael. Michael is the founder of several companies in the span of 2 years, which include e-commerce, health food business, specialty chemical companies, and also training and consultancy. So he's a multiple business owner. Prior to that, he was 25 years in corporate career as the head of marketing and business development for a global biotechnology company. His passion is to help SME business grow in an increasingly disruptive world through innovation and creative problem solving. So he will be joining the panel as well, and together with Shirley to address any questions or issue. But meanwhile, I will pose to our 3 honored guests not on the BJ Foods potato chips. Now, by the way, you can see behind Philip all his brands. You know, I'm sure all of you have tried Wise potato chip before. So that's what BJ Food does. Protasco is an organization that take care of your roads, the roads. And some of you are not happy with that, but it may not be the roads that they are taking care of. And of course, Puan is with the UEM. Yeah, okay, very good. So I will now pose the first question. What are the most significant impact that the recent pandemic has on the training and development strategies and direction of your organization? Now, for the time being, I will start with alphabetical order, which means Alan has to speak first. Alan,
all right.
Input.
Yes, thank you so much, Casey, and for directing the question to me. And thank you, Chris, for having me today. And a big hello to everyone from different part of the country. I mean, different part of the world. I think one of the impact that this recent pandemic has on our training and development strategies is first thing first, we need to understand and embrace the paradigm shift in terms of the training environment. I think Casey and Shirley have said it so much that being transitioned from a classroom to virtual platform. That is number one. Because apparently new technologies have opened new ways for new learning forum. It means to say that the way of learning may have changed forever. Online training is no longer an option. It is mandatory, it is a must. So we must provide the right context to our employees, the right platform to our employees to continuously reskill and upskill themselves. So that is number one. Number two is that the training and development strategies are no longer the responsibility of just one person or maybe human resource or training department. It has rather become a very massive leadership agenda. So our company has established a talent management committee because in our organization like ours, it is paramount that the continuous learning culture to be created and embedded into our business ecosystem so that our staff are able to continuously re-energize and also redevelop themselves to be relevant in the pandemic era. So in other words, I would say that how do we transform our people into lifelong learning at the right pace? We also hope that everyone in our learning community, that is our staff, to become their own inner coach. So I think these two are the great significant impact on our organization at the moment.
Right. You know, Alan, your organization, Petresco, is a pretty widespread of different businesses. You own hotels, you have a university, infrastructure university is part of your group. And then you have various other business. So some are, affected deeply and some are not. Does that make any difference to the training and development strategies for each of these different types of businesses that you're in?
What I would say is that first thing first, although yes, you're right, Casey, we are having 7 business segments within the group. And the first thing first is that what we did was to revisit our business model right away, to see our business model, whether it's still relevant. And therefore, we want to assess the different talent pool at different business segments to see whether the skill set is still relevant. If let's say the skill set is not relevant, then we have to reskill or upskill them. In our case, that we have a business model of B2G, business to government. So we know the technical know-how is very important. But we have also B2C businesses, like, for example, hotel, like education, our university, and also our shopping mall. I think these are the little things that perhaps the few areas that we need to really strategize our new training and development strategies to make sure that we are still relevant in the to stay competitive.
Yeah. So what I think I understand your organization did is you have a whole strategic planning exercise that you did, and you spent quite a bit of effort into that area. And so after that, your learning and development kind of align with your new organizational strategy. Am I right to say that?
Oh yes, yes. In the recent our strategic blueprint, that we have actually come up with 5 critical success factors, and one of the key success factors, in fact, is talent management. So we build in a lot of and instill a lot of reskilling and upskilling possible skills into our plan, and hopefully one day we are able to execute our roadmap. So yes.
Thank you. Okay, let's go to the wise people. Same question. Tell us a little bit about the impact of the pandemic on your training development and directions. I got this feeling that your organization did more training. Am I right to say that?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. A very good morning to all of you. All right. Big, welcome all of you to this forum today. And yes, I'm from BJC, and you know us better by the name of Wise Cottage Fries. So a lot of us grew up with this brand. Now, during the pandemic, potato chips, we had been the savior because we kept everyone at home, with our potato chips. Of course, we had limitations, in terms of producing it. But nevertheless, when the crisis started, can you imagine, it has changed the way that we were almost overnight. We were really caught off guard, and the initial fear that we were worried that the pressure will be too great. And as time goes by, we begin to discover that there is this new way of working, all right? There could be this particular model or this strategy like that, which can be done for long term. And that's what we found, And through this pandemic, right, what we have done is we need to figure out that we can adapt rapidly to these changing conditions. So what we did is we actually have crafted a talent strategy that developed our employees in terms of critical digital or cognitive capabilities and their social and also their emotional skills, and also their adaptability and their resilience. And in fact, we made history by increasing, we have never done this before, by increasing the budget in 2021 by three times, all right? And we are committed to reskilling, all right? So, and by developing this, we know that for a fact that we are also preparing for future disruptions. Yeah, so that is basically the impact on us, and in fact, it has turned out positively for us.
You hear me, you don't see me responding, it's because I lose sound sometimes, technical issue, yeah? Okay, Puan, can I ask you the same question? Tell us how the pandemic impact, you are handling the whole learning development function in your very large organization. Did you say 4,000 staff?
4,500 more or less.
4,500
Yes.
now. So how do you handle this? I mean, with the pandemic, cannot do classroom training. And so what did your organization do?
Right, thank you, Casey. My answer will be a combination of Alan and Philip's answers. Yeah. So
Oh, okay.
yeah. In addition to that, I think our initial focus is to look at our people in terms of helping them responding to the pandemic first. Helping them coping with the pandemic first. Yeah. Once that is already settled, we look at our people in terms of helping them recover. And the third part of that is also helping them to thrive in the new normal. So there are 3 stages to, the focus that we have when the pandemic actually hit us: respond, recover, and, thriving in the new normal, whatever the new normal is. We also, help them preparing for the next new normal, which is something that is unforeseen right now. So by helping them preparing for the next new normal, we actually help them be more agile, be more prepared, and having the right skills to adapt to the new changes.
Okay, that's interesting. So, but moving on, further questions for you, Juan, is so what are the priorities, some of the priorities for this year, insofar as your organization is concerned in terms of training? What are some of the key initiatives that would be taken?
For Agenda, we have just revealed our new strategies, which is Agenda of the Future 2025. So that will be our strategies moving forward. So by looking at those strategies, we have identified sort of like you actually presented the World Economic Forum's statistics on the new skills. From that 10 required skills, we have actually shortlisted 5, which is very, very important for us to achieve our Agenda of the Future 2025. So that 5 being shortlisted are basically more or less, growth mindset, critical problem solving, digital awareness, digitalization, human-centered design, and data storytelling. So those are the 5 prominent focus that we're going to have moving forward.
Okay, I'm going to ask Mimi to sort of put in the chat, because I'm sure some of the people participating will realize that you went a little bit fast. Juan, can you repeat?
Yeah. So it's basically shortlisting from the 10 top skills which you have presented, from World Economic Forum, because I think 10 skills to focus on is too much. So let's have the most prominent ones for us in Agenda, for us to support Agenda of the Future 2025. So the top 5 that we are focusing on are basically growth mindset, that is 1. Critical problem solving, that is 2. Digital awareness or digitalization, that is 3. Human-centered design, and data storytelling. So all these are to support our Agenda of the Future vision. Right? If you know UVM Agenda, we are actually in healthcare support services and asset management, among other businesses that we have. And basically, we consider ourselves as digital company in healthcare support services and asset management. So by having that vision, so these top 5 skills will actually help us deliver those objectives.
Something to watch out for. All right, so I go to Philip. In terms of priorities for learning and development for your organization for 2021, either in terms of initiatives or competency areas?
Yeah, in fact, we have set a goal of, to improve our post-crisis performance. And we have actually executed a large-scale skills strategy that made the return to the physical workplace the new norm, so that it will be smoother. And we have introduced new skills and training to boost performance, right, and also to create a more deeply engaged workforce. So we have distinguished between critical and non-critical skills, right? And we realized that our workforce lacked flexibility, and we need to move upskill, right, staff in all the skill areas that they need. So the learning landscape has actually changed so much, and because this, where we will foster teaching of new skills for all the employees. And what we have done we have actually brought, for example, the teaching in terms of video learning, like the online Zoom, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And this transformation has made it possible to scale the learning effort, in a more cost-effective way, and that has permitted us, all right, to a greater, extent to personalize every training for every learner or every staff. And in fact, this has actually it's a blessing in disguise for us, because it has actually given us more in terms of cost effectiveness and also in terms of their learnability, which Shirley and Casey has been talking all this while. Yeah, thank you.
Sir, you were not, couldn't hear you just now.
Hello. Okay, sorry. So I was saying that Philip is an unusual CEO because he is very focused on development, learning as part and parcel of your strategy for the future of your organization. But yours is a manufacturing concern, so to speak. Not many CEOs in that business sector emphasize a lot on training. So personal question, what makes you believe that this is an important focus for your organization?
In fact, my first touch point, it was way back in March, April last year, where, I was put into this situation where we were like caught unaware in that sense. So I actually joined one of Casey's business continuity, if you remember.
Oh, okay. Yes.
I was in your
so
business.
He was one of those 170 CEOs and business owners that I was coaching.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so we were so lost. In fact, I in particular was so lost in that sense, So, but, through that business continuity and the network and the team and also your guidance, I began to see and put things into perspective. So that was actually, one of the ways. For me, my organization is not as big as Alan's or Puaniza, but we are practically like it's a top-down thing. So I was the very first to be trained actually in my company before I actually expanded it, top down. All right. So it was really an amazing experience, So who says that COVID-19 is a nightmare? It could be, it is a blessing in disguise, for me in particular. Yeah.
Speed up change for you.
Yeah. Accelerated.
Okay, Alan. Priorities and initiatives and so forth for 2021 in Protesco.
Yeah, I think many of us actually on the same wavelength, just like what Philip said. We are making actually learning itself the top priority, because the ability to learn, how to learn, I think is one key strategy, and the other one is that how to apply it, I think is another. So the ability to learn and also the ability to apply it, I think is very important. In fact, our company is always promoting this learnability culture and how to connect our learning community, which is our staff, to actually learning resources. We also believe that learning is not just one-off. Reskilling is not just one-off. Today we have a COVID-19 pandemic. We don't know what is going to happen next. So I think this learning is going to be a long-term. And what really we need to do is that to build economics of learning into our competitive advantage. So that is what our company actually is looking for. Number two is another area of training priorities is to have all our business leaders to carry out business and management diagnostic analysis for our company, which is our business model and also talent pool assessment to reassess the skill set again, to be realigned in accordance with the business models. So that is our training priorities.
Okay, thank you very much. Now I will direct the question to Michael. Your opinion, Michael, you work with a lot of SMEs and you're an SME. So what do you think are some of the priorities for SME in the learning and development area, in your opinion, Michael?
So I've been speaking to some of those SMEs, and it seems that most of them are very concerned about those training that will bring direct impact to their businesses, such as like selling in the post-pandemic period. What has changed from before to current? Because in the past, a lot of those sales are done by visiting the customers. And in the future, will that kind of scenario change? Will the customer still accept them visiting on a regular basis? And cost reduction is another one that I keep hearing very often from all these SMEs, because they know that the challenge of running a competitive business, and therefore cost reduction is prime for most SMEs today. And the third one is actually a lot of these companies are looking for digitalization, how to use the latest technology to help them to cater to new markets. And a lot of these are related to how they go with the omni-channel sales and marketing strategies. So these are the three things that I capture most from SMEs.
Let's summarize. I hear digitization, move upwards. I heard number 2 is
sales strategies,
cost management, and number 1 is looking at sales side.
New way of doing sales. Yeah.
New way of doing sales, new channels, right? So these are the 3 areas that you think SMEs need to look at. But I also want to point out something which I did in my business continuity program. I said these are what I call very important area: cost management, looking at your digitization and or sales and function. But all this has to be aligned to the organization's strategy. In other words, strategy comes first, because when the environment change, things change, the company direction may be different. I call it stop, start, continue. There are some things you will have to stop doing, some business you might have to stop doing, some new areas you have to start doing, and some things you continue doing. So when you have this macro view, then the directions for the 3 things you mentioned becomes clearer. Would I be right to say that, Michael?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, in fact, the organization strategy has to be relooked again, whether it is still relevant after this pandemic period. Okay,
I'm going to pose a question to Shirley. Shirley works with China companies quite a bit, and although last 1 year he was caught here in Malaysia, can't go over to China. He's Malaysian now, by the way. She's Malaysian, but she speaks like a Chinese now. Anyway, so in your opinion, with your interaction with all the Chinese companies, we went past the post-pandemic, is there any change in direction in terms of learning development, in your opinion?
Actually, even before the pandemic, I would say 3-4 years ago, micro-learning, online learning was already very, very popular in China. So it's happened years ago in some of the countries. It's only Malaysia that we are taking out a bit slow. Then, of course, after the pandemic, especially the education, school, university, and colleges, they are just adapted it very fast, because the speed of their working is just like lightning. They change things very fast. All the education sector, they were so ready. And in terms of corporate trainings, it wasn't that much of change though, because China, they recover it and control the situation very fast. It's more than 6 months ago, they were already, the trainers that were known of in China, they were already traveling around to do training. But still, some company, they adapted to the online training. For example, the client I'm serving now, because they want to reach more employees with less cost. This is something that we couldn't do in classroom training. So the companies still looking for solution like this.
Okay, thank you. Now, Michael, looking at the Q&A box, are there questions that you may want to help me present to audience? Because you can read the chat Q&A box, please, Michael.
Okay, all right. Sarah, haven't got the questions.
A Q&A box.
All right, okay, Q&A box. All right, the first question is from Shamsul Amri. The saying has it, leaders are readers. What could the better strategy to have our leaders to read?
Okay. Now, well, I believe reading is a habit and something that you cultivate from young as a child. So I'm not sure how you do that if that person has not had the reading habit and became an adult and we turn that around. I guess that society is reading less and seeing videos more. Culture. Opinion of my panelists, what do you think? How do we create a more reading culture?
If I can make, Casey?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, I think nowadays you're quite right. Attention span is very, very short, right?
Yep.
So I think for leaders, that is even shorter. What we have done before is that, there is a lot of apps out there that can actually provide you not the books, but the gist of the books itself. So you don't have to read like 500 pages of books, but the app is actually providing you with the gist of that. Yeah, correct. So whatever that you need to learn in terms of the methodology, in terms of the lessons learned from those books are actually being summarized in those apps. So that is one way of how we get leaders to actually read and stay up to date.
Yeah. Well, I know for one fact that Shirley is a very avid reader. Yep. And she's also quite busy. So how you cope? Shirley?
I don't know. Recently, I took the few months ago, I took the trouble to learn how to read faster. Because there are so many books on my shelf and on my iPad. So I took the trouble to do that.
Very good.
Yeah, but I think it's just like Nolisa say, you just choose whatever that you need to read sometimes. I read quite a bit of articles, a lot of research paper, white paper, which is very much relevant to my work. And sometimes I read for leisure. So it's very important that you select what you want to read that can, you like it. Or help you.
When I was young, which is not very long ago, I read 7 books a week. I'm not joking. I'm an avid reader. But honestly, I kind of lost that quite a bit when I started business and get into the humdrum of business. So anyway, we have to pick that up, and being a fast reader would be a good thing. Second question, Michael. Next question.
Yeah, next question is, how can organizations start their reskilling of employees? What are your recommendations as the first steps?
Can't hear the question. Start what?
How can organizations start their reskilling of employees? And what are your recommended first steps?
All right. I'm going to make a suggestion, and then I will ask the panelists to give the input. First thing is to, like Kwan said, look at what is necessary for the future. That means you don't do your planning for now. And just now she shared with you 5 areas that align itself to the strategy of the company. So like what Protasco do, they did a strategy planning session. One of the critical success factors is talent development. So from there, they have a team, and the team is not the training department. The team is made up of people from various, am I right? So I'm sorry, I'm taking your information away. From what I know.
Right.
So they will plan out what is the important skills required for the future. You want to elaborate on that, Alan?
Yes, I can elaborate on that. Of course, first thing first, it's no longer the responsibility of our HR and training department. So Casey, you're right, but it is rather a senior management effort. It's a massive leadership agenda, and we also getting ourselves to engage with the lower ranking staff. So it is not just top down, but it's also bottoms up. So we have to meet somewhere. And to revisit after revisiting our business model and also a blueprint, then we will know what exactly what kind of reskilling skill that we need. Some of them not necessarily reskilling, but some of them are upskilling. Maybe you want to make your accountant become a super accountant, or maybe you want to make your accountant to become a super salesman. So that is reskilling. So this is what exactly now we are doing, and we believe we need at least 2 years of roadmap to actually fully execute our plan.
Okay. I will move on to the next question. Is that okay, Michael?
Yeah, the next question is how best we could ensure the L&D for clients' expectations are being met.
For clients' expectation. So does that mean, Michael, the person asking is talking as a training provider?
Yeah, I think that's related to Shirley's session on online learning.
Okay. Yeah, Samsu is our program. He joined one of our programs. So he's a trainer or the provider.
So obviously you didn't teach well because you still got question. I'm just joking. Okay, Shirley, do you want to address that?
Maybe from my understanding is how can ensure the L&D for client expectations are being met. I'm not sure how to answer this. I think it's very much that how good is the clients, or how good we are to help the clients to find out their training needs analysis. I mean, internal training needs analysis. What are their challenges and competency gaps within the company? I think this step need to be done quite well and be clarified. Then the expectation should be easily can be met. This is what I understand.
Okay.
Okay, can you help me to add on, Casey?
So I will ask Philip, how would you want a training provider to meet your requirement? That's the other perspective of it. Asking Philip as a customer, as a client.
Yeah, actually, as the management, basically sometimes we have a lot of ideas, but we do not know how to execute it. Yeah. All right. So that's where you need to look for professionals. We need to look at the right people and the right place in order to get those done. So and the other one is we don't have so much time, So what you do is you just delegate, So that's where you get quests and trainers, and that's how I started off actually. But after that, once I started off, basically the HR and the training team began to understand. The head of departments began to understand the whole thing, and then they started moving and they started to cascade the whole thing down, to the next level and eventually right down to the bottom. And like what Alan says, it comes back up, on what they need, and the kind of reskill or even skilling. So that's the thing. Yeah.
I will add something more to this. Thank you. Sorry, did I interrupt you, Philip? Are you okay? Okay, right.
Yeah.
So to answer the question, when we talk about expectation of the client, depends on who you're talking to. If you're talking to the learning development function, the expectation it pertains to learning outcome and development outcome. I would suggest if you are a provider to go higher and talk to them on business results. Because at the end of the day, any learning and development must end up with an impact on the business. I mean, Philip does this not because he's just want to have learning development company. He also want to ensure that his BJ Foods is going to continue to show good profits. Good. At the end of the day, there must be a business impact and outcome of that. So my answer to the question is, while we may understand the learning development needs, we want to also link it to the business results or the impact the organization want, and that perhaps can be done talking to the business owners and the CEOs and so forth, and finding their expectations. So there's another point to add to that, I suppose. Michael, is there any more questions?
Yeah, there's more questions. This question from Elmo. Can you comment on the growing learning disparity between people who only have smartphones versus those with better access to technology? How does an organization close this gap if the company policy is BYOD? I assume this is bring your own device, maybe? and organizations only has modest L&D budget.
Do you have this challenge point in your organization?
We do actually, but I think the management is generous enough to actually subsidize data subscription, and we actually have a program where employees can actually have a loan devices. We actually send out almost a number of devices across Malaysia for the employees to actually use. So these devices are actually shared among those who have issues with connectivity, smart devices, and connection with the rest in the company. So that is how we basically tackle that kind of challenges. And other than that, we also encourage people to subscribe to, we also have companies coming in, telcos coming in to provide employees with good packages for our employees. So we actually tied up with these companies to do that for our employees. Yeah.
I have two parts of it, if I may dissect it a little bit and invite our panelists to comment. I think first thing is the access to internet connectivity. And I think Juan mentioned something about that. So how do we ensure that, I don't know about Philippines, but in Malaysia, there's some parts of the country where maybe that may be challenging if you are trying to demand high bandwidth. I remember that because I started the first online learning company in Asia back in 1900s. I pioneered that area, but my challenge is when we broadcast video, the character go like that. in 1900s, that's the situation. So the second part is device. Now, would I be right to say, feedback from my panel is that everybody has a mobile phone? Everybody. So the lack of device is not there, but it's just that a lot of the online providers are not doing it on a mobile platform, perhaps. So it doesn't come out on the mobile phone. Is that true or not true? Shirley, do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I want to add on this. So that's why online learning is the best solution. Because when you create the online content, once it's on the cloud or on some way, you just need a smartphone. You don't need to access your own data. You can do it at office, at home, or go some cafe that we internet access. Just watch the video and learn from it. That's it. You need the minimum access of all these expensive device or gadgets.
Yeah. So if everybody have a mobile phone and it's so we just have to migrate to mobile learning, and very important is to do bite size. Watching a mobile phone for 1 hour, 2 hours, it's a bit too constraining. So we have to adapt the learning format in accordance to the environment and the accessibility that we have. Right? Comments from anybody else? If not, we move to the next question. How many questions do we have? A lot of questions.
We have another 3 questions.
Okay, let's finish the 3 and see if any other comments we have. Go ahead, Michael.
All right. The next question from Rosnita is addressed to Puan or Lisa.
Okay.
Can you share an example of storytelling with data?
Yes, we can. So basically, data or information is a lot around us. It's just a matter of how we actually present the data to make a story out of it. Yeah, because if you capture a lot of data will stay as data. But what you need to do with data is to analyze the data so that it tells you a story, so that you can actually decide what to do with the story. So what we have around here, especially in UM Magenta, we have a lot of data captured at a lot of points. We manage the highways, we manage the hospitals, we manage assets for the government and for other buildings as well. So this data comes in not just in mega byte, but in terabyte. So what happened is that we have this data. How do we monetize this data? With this data, some data will tell us that there are a lot of opportunities for us out there to sell certain services. So what we do is we collect this data, we analyze the data. The data will tell us a story in terms of what is lacking and what is needing an improvement, for example. And what we do is we actually present this data in a storytelling manner to the management or to the stakeholders, telling them that this is what's happening out there. Because if you go to your management, if you go to your stakeholders without any facts and figures backing you up, they may not be easily convinced in that sense. So with this data, you are telling them a story and telling them that something must be done in certain areas. And with that, certain decisions can actually be made. With this data, informed and wise decisions will be able to be made by the stakeholders and by the management. And this could actually influence in terms of the strategy that the company may undertake in future, a return of looking at a U-turn of certain things or certain initiatives that we may need to take, right? Just to give a bit of an example, a concrete example. Let's say in one project, when you collect a data, the data is actually telling you that the project is not feasible to be done. So, kill it as soon as possible or else you will be bleeding. So that is what data is telling you. All you need to do now is to transform or convert the data into a story to tell to the management, to tell to the stakeholders what it is all about. And the human part of that storytelling is for us now to convert the data and tell the why. Data will only tell you that much, but the human part of that data is us telling the why part of it, right? So when you package that, it becomes data storytelling for your stakeholder and for your management to make certain decision quickly and with a sound mind.
Very good. Wow, there's a lot of information there. I think we're going to organize a seminar just on that topic. All right,
Okay,
Michael, let's move on to that 2 questions. Time is the issue.
Yeah, I think we
Sorry,
have
somebody want
time
to say
for one
something?
question. I think we have only time for one question.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. So this last question is, if you have to choose, what will be the biggest training need for your organization for the new normal? How do you measure results?
I will just quickly talk about measuring results, but this is a topic that I have been very gung-ho on because background is an accountant, we measure everything. So I got a strong feeling that in the Southeast Asian environment, there's not enough measurement of results. And there are 5 levels. Level 1 is what I call the happy sheet, SHEET, where you ask people whether they're happy, not happy. A lot of people do that when they do training, but that doesn't measure results. The second one is learning. Did they actually learn something? There's a post and a pre. You can do that. But learning doesn't mean that it will end up with results, because people learn something doesn't mean they apply it. So application is level 3. Are they applying it to real world? You can measure that. You do a pre, you do a post, you can determine people's behavior before and after the training in terms of applying it. The 4th area is business result. If you do sales training, you should measure sales. Of course, sales can be impacted by many other factors. So you have to isolate the results to see which part relates to the training. I mean, as a result of training, which is not. So I'm going to the whole spectrum. Then if you do productivity training, production should increase. If you do safety training, number of accidents should go down. If you do customer service training, number of customer complaints should reduce. So here's my point. Do not let anybody tell you that business results from training cannot be measured. It can be, you just need to know how. If you can measure the business results and it translates to financials, then you can do your return on investment in training. Now, we had a whole program called How to Measure ROI in Training. Go to our website. You can find some information there on that. We have been doing that for years, helping organizations to put measurability in their results. So, Michael, I'm going to just answer that because of time. We're going to close the event, but I have something to follow through with. So back to my screen. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Pon. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Philip and Shirley, for your participation. This has been most. Yeah. All right. Can my screen be seen? Okay. So a couple of more things as we draw the session to the close. We have been, as an organization, we started in 1984. So we've been in business for 37 years. We went online in year 2000. I launched an online platform in year 2000, took it to 20 countries, and it not successful because bandwidth was not. But I did went to 20 countries, and our total revenue was $2 million in the first year, US. So it was hugely successful in terms of people's interest, but not so because of technology. So recently, 2016, we came back again. We launched something called Hootie, which is one of the first mobile learning platform in Malaysia owned by Quest. Now, during the COVID-19, we launched a lot of online learning immediately. We have things like developing in-house online learning, impactful virtual sales presentation, teaching salespeople how to use the different platform, new norm I mentioned, tele-customer service, color accounting, which is done completely online. I'll tell you a little bit about that. So all these programs, including Kung Fu of Selling, is all virtual. And one of the popular programs is Resilience, which is another area that a lot of people need reskill. A little bit more about color accounting. This program is from the US, and it's one of the most interesting and engaging program for finance, for financial. So here's a good program as a case study to see how a typically boring program called finance or non-financial is turned into be something exciting, interesting online. And this is done online, and this is one of our popular programs. People have come into that and find it very interesting. Here's a little bit of information if you're interested to find out more. The other thing I mentioned is the critical skill, the new norm topics. Each of this module is a one-day program, which is 2 modules. Each module is 2 sessions over 2 half days, in line with HRDF suggestions of 3.5 hours, then you can claim the whole amount for 7 hours. So here is some information, and all these links are available on the chat group if you have interest to know. Coming up right around the corner is a new program called Certificate in Online Training. This is our certification program offered by the International Professional Managers Association. This is a good investment for HR and training department who wants to learn more techniques and skills and tools in the area of online learning. And this one of the trainer in this program is obviously Shirley Leong, and a couple of other people will be involved in this. So if interest, please check this out. So I want to say thank you to all of you for coming in. And all the links are in the chat box, so you should get into that. And for your training ebook, e-guidebook, this is the QR code that you can scan and get it. But it's also available as a link on the chat box. So once again, take a look at Certificate in Online Training, which is a good program for people in the learning department, training department, may want to pick this up and contribute to the organization in terms of helping organization move in this area. This is the critical skills based on our research. And this is an example of a program that can be interestingly done online and very attractive and fantastic. So I want to say thank you once again for all of you for being here. And to my panelists, I want to say thank you to Juan, you're a busy person, but thank you very much for being here. And to Alan, once again, I have big responsibility as CEO, and of course, Philip running a potato chip company. You know, it's amazing when I visited him to see on one end of the factory is potato, on the other end is bags of potato chip. Wonderful. Thank you, Philip. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you.
And thank you to Michael and to Shirley for being here. Good day to all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For those of you who are still here, thank you for joining today's session. We have come to the end. Have a good rest of the day.